Welcome back, y'all. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We are going to celebrate a milestone with reaching 40,000. We actually said we were going to do this at 30,000, but then, life happened and here we are. But so here we are at 40,000. We're going to do an FAQ session and just go over a bunch of questions that y'all have put in the comment section or emailed to us. And, we'll do these periodically, and we always get great questions from y'all. But let's get started.
All right, so question one comes from Antoine on YouTube. How can I spot a quality shoe, and what tricky marketing tactics should I not fall into? That's a good question. Thank you so much. So when you are looking for a quality shoe, there's just certain things that will jump out at you. Definitely one being real stitches. And when I say real stitches, I'm talking about either Goodyear welted or Blake stitch. Now you have to be careful, because one of the tricks that a lot of manufacturers are doing now is they're either putting a faux welt on the outside to give the appearance of a Goodyear welt. They will also, if you turn the sole or turn the shoe over and look on the bottom of the sole, you'll see stitches along the bottom of the shoe. And a lot of times that is not real stitching either. I can't tell you how many shoes we get in here that when we start to take the shoe apart, they look like real stitches even to us, and when we cut through it, we find out it's all glued together. So those are two tricks that shoe manufacturers are doing right now, so definitely look for that. Is look inside the shoe, look up toward the toe area of the shoe inside, and if you see stitches on the inside portion of that insole, oftentimes that means that that is a true Blake stitch shoe, and it is actually stitched on. If it has a liner completely on the inside, it can be tough to tell. But
that's
some
why I don't
do
like
not.
full liners.
Yeah.
I love 3/4 liners, and I like to see an actual footbed. So especially then you can tell if it's real leather footbed, but you can also see those stitches.
Yeah, and one of the other tricks that you can do is look and see if it is a true heel block. So turn the shoe over. Look at the where the heel block meets the sole portion, the breast of it, and if it looks like it is all one piece and you cannot see individual layers from the top lift and the heel block, again, that's another area where manufacturers they don't really hide that part. So it, from the back of the shoe, it may look like it's actually a separate top lift, but if you look on the heel breast portion there, that's where you can often tell. So two places to look to see if you are being fooled or deceived.
One more way is what he was talking about, that faux stitching on the welt. If it does have stitching on the bottom, and it could be one of those fake where they put both on one on the bottom and one on the welt, but also it's how far are the stitches in from on the sole. And a needle's going to go straight. It's not really a curved needle, so if one is set further off, then that could be a sign that it's not a Goodyear welt, because they're not above and below each other. One's a little close to the edge on the welt and one's further in. There's a lot of tricky ways that manufacturers are trying to cut corners and cut costs, but also trying to pass off like a cement constructed shoe as a stitch shoe. Yeah. But most people who are offering Goodyear welt, it's going to say somewhere on there Goodyear welt, or a lot of times the salesperson will tell you it's Goodyear welt, or on the website it'll say Goodyear welt. Goodyear welt's a little harder to hide than a Blake stitch. Yep. The next question comes from Nathan, and what was your first quality footwear?
So
quality, I used to buy a lot of junk shoes just because I didn't know any better.
Yeah, we were once ourselves in the same place that so many of you guys feel that you are. I was in the corporate world, and I was just graduating from college and whatnot, and I just thought, if it's a leather bottom shoe, if it's a leather shoe, great, and I would buy it. So we've both been there. But I would say my first quality shoe, and it's probably yours because we got them at the same time. We both got a pair of Crockett and Jones cap toes. Yep. And we both still have them today. So that was my first quality pair of shoes.
They're about due for a resale, so I might do a video on that.
Yeah. All right. This is from Charlotte. So thank you to all of our female followers out there or subscribers. Do you know of any good shoe and boot brands for ladies? Do you want to tackle it?
Ladies shoes, that is a whole different animal. No one is cutting more corners than in the ladies' shoe department.
Yeah.
They are, and I know this sounds very stereotypical, but marketing and statistics will back it up. Ladies will buy things more
In fashion.
in fashion and with name than men will, and it's probably it's just true. And
we see a lot of the ladies' comments on YouTube, and we love the fact that y'all are following, because so many of the videos that we're putting out, especially when it comes to shoe care, applies to you all as well. This is not just for guys. But some of the questions that we're getting a lot from you ladies is, what brands do you recommend? What are the top brands for ladies? And it's so hard to answer those questions as a quick response on our YouTube videos. Because like Heath said, I hate to say it, but the manufacturers as a whole are not turning out quality for ladies. They are turning out what's in style, what's in fashion, get it out there. And as a whole, just even based upon the amount of lady customers we have here in Nashville, they're generally not coming in here asking what's a great shoe. They want that shoe fixed, and when we have to tell them, hey, it's inferior quality, I'm sorry, it cost $1,000, but you're buying it for that name brand, and the manufacturers know that, and they're putting less money into quality and more money into marketing. So it's really tough. But if we were to just throw one out there, and we will do another deeper in-depth video on this, I would probably say one that jumps out to me is Fry. The uppers are really nice on Fry, and like I said, we'll get more into this. But even then, it depends on which style of Fry. Yeah, because even Fries are different.
I can probably pick every single one apart in some manner.
Yeah, I've seen Fries that are Goodyear welted, and 90% of Fries are maybe Blake stitch. A lot of them are just glued. I get a lot of Fries in here, like I was saying a few minutes ago, where it looks like it's stitched on the bottom, but as soon as I pull the sole off, that stitch only goes through the sole. It doesn't even go all the way through the boot. So really, it's just being glued on. A lot of the heel blocks on Fries are not really stacked leather, but on some of them they are. It's hard to tell. But as a whole for ladies, if you're going to buy a boot, I would go with Fry. Outside of that, most of them are not good shoes.
There are higher end, especially if you want to go like a riding boot or something like that, and they're the same companies that make men's shoes. They're pricey, but they do make quality. It's not more what we call a designer.
Let's see. From Mark, how does one get into being a cobbler?
That's easy. Where this quickly is, cobblers are going out of business.
Yeah.
Just go find a local cobbler who's retiring, selling his business, and then ask him how much he'd sell it for. It's really a good time if you want to get into the cobbling business. It's a good time because there are businesses that want to be sold and machinery out there. It's then, can the market, your local market, be supported or support you enough to or you want to know why is that person possibly selling now? And
yeah, exactly. To Heath's point, I mean, we hear it all the time, and you guys can look around. I mean, cobbler shops are closing all over the place in the U.S. But that's a good thing. Like he said, you can go out and buy one. But again, make sure you look at your area. We live in an area of Nashville that's very affluent, so it's great for business. And then we've also grown outside of this. So definitely look at the market. But again, like he said, find a cobbler and just train with them. That's probably the best way to go about it.
All right, next one's from Kyle. How can you tell if a shoe can be recrafted? This kind of piggybacks the one thing I always tell people is make sure you have layers. So make sure your welt, your sole, your block, and your top lift, those 4 pieces, and sometimes we'll have a midsole, so you'll be at 5 pieces. Make sure all of those are separate pieces. If they all separate, then they can all be taken off in layers. Leather is going to be more recraftable than a lot of rubber.
Yep.
Because sometimes rubber, they actually, during the making process, the manufacturers will kind of almost melt it.
And it's a lot of them, they're molded.
Yeah, molded.
So if you have like Echoes, I know Echo's a big one. Clark is a big one. A lot of those can't be, because if you look at it and it does not have like a flat surface, it's more of a curve, a molded rubber sole like you see on Echoes. 99.999% of the time, those are not going to be resoldable. It's just the way it is.
They're made for one-time wear.
But yeah, good.
They can be, but it's kind of like rigging it.
Yeah. So this one comes from Nathaniel. It's more of kind of a personal questions, but these are kind of fun. Let's see. Who's older? Are you both married? Who's taller, and do you have kids? So I am older.
2 years older.
Yes, I'm 2 years older. We are both married. Heath is taller. He's got the looks and the height and all that good stuff.
I'm like an inch taller, so
yeah.
But if you look, see, you can kind of see here when we're sitting down.
I have a longer torso.
He has a longer torso.
He's got
I've got
longer
legs, so he actually looks taller than me when we sit.
And do we have kids? Yes. I have 2 kids. He's got 2 kids. I've got a boy and a girl.
I've got 2 daughters. The next one comes from Brad. Where did your interest in shoes come from? I've always appreciated shoes. I didn't know a whole lot about it, but I'd probably say when we used to live in Europe.
Yeah.
And they still do a lot of old world type craftsmanship over there, more so than over here. And then just traveling through Italy and family vacations and stuff, it's just the leather and I mean, just the old craftsmanship. And
yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think when he and I were in high school, we lived in Europe, and at that time it was in the late 90s, so that kind of tells you how old we are. Europeans as a whole were wearing a lot more the leather shoes than the Americans. Sneakers and all were big then, but over in Europe, everyone was still wearing leather shoes. And then we've always liked shoes, and just, that kind of stemmed from that. But I also, one of the big influences on me, especially nowadays, is we're both big historians, but I love that like 1930s through the 1960s time frame when my granddads were around, and just the look of those classic actors from like the 1950s and 40s and all, just the style that men had back then. And
back when men looked like men.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, the suits, the shoes, and that's probably where I really pull a lot of my style nowadays from.
But you see with a lot of y'all, I can tell just from your comments and the emails that we get, there's a resurgence.
There definitely is a resurgence,
and it's a lot of the younger generation, and they're wanting to kind of bring back that dressing nice, and that's cool. I like that.
All right, this one comes from Robert. How do you know when it's worth having your shoes repaired versus buying a new pair? So we get this question a lot on our videos, and it really boils down, one, to the customer. If you have a higher end shoe, and ideally I'm going to say at the $200 price point above, that's where your quality shoes really begin. A lot of our shoe repairs are underneath the $200 price range, unless you're really wanting complete custom everything on your shoe repair, or unless your shoe is completely falling apart. It generally doesn't get much higher than that $150, $200 price point. So, if you have a $200, $300, $400, $500 shoe like Carmina or, Allen Edmonds, much more beneficial to pay to have that shoe resold than to go buy another pair. Not to mention, a lot of those shoes are actually made to be resold. Allen Edmonds does not make a shoe for you to wear it one time, it wear out, and then you throw it in the trash. That's not why they made those quality shoes, or Carmina. So they're meant to be resold over and over and over so that you keep them for, a generation. So I think a lot of it, again, is up to the customer, but
that's part of that old world. They were still made a nice quality shoe, still made like that nostalgic time that we were just talking about. So it's not a disposable. It's jumping out of that disposable kind of mindset. Yeah. Jennifer, what is the clear liquid you squirt all over your soles? We get this one a lot. It's glue thinner. I don't know how much glue a previous cobbler put on that thing, and a glue thinner. You can heat it up and then squirt some of that stuff on it, and a lot of times it'll just peel right off it.
All right, this one comes from Jeffrey. When you are nailing in the heels, what exactly are you nailing into, and do you cut them off or bend them over? When we are putting on the heel blocks and you see us putting nails in, that's why we have the shoe on an anvil. So when the nail goes through the heel block and into the insole, just a little tip of it is all you want. I mean, you don't have a big part of it coming through. It's just a little tip.
We're not Johnson and Murphy.
Yeah, and then when it hits the metal anvil, it crimps the nail head over. So then it holds that block on. That's why it's done at the factory and you don't feel it. It's the same thing. You can't just glue on a heel block or it's going to fall off. So you have to nail them in. It hits the anvil, crimps it. There you go.
And if you've ever had a shoe that you put on, you're like, oh, if there's a nail right there, it's because during the manufacturing process, one of them didn't crimp.
All right, so the last two are more of fun ones that we came across, and we're not going to say their name, so we're going to put it as from Anonymous. you're going to lacerate your hand the way you sling that chisel. You get a demerit from the safety department. So we love some of these comments that are really, really humorous. But again, hey, some of them I know are, meant to come at us, but then there's some of you guys that are really, really care about our hands and our safety. So we do appreciate that. Yes, we have, and when you're doing this day in and day out, you're going to get some nicks on your hands.
That's just working with your hands.
Yeah, that's just whether you're a construction worker or whatever, you're going to get some bumps and bruises. It happens in this business too. But we've done thousands of shoes, and 99.99% of them, we've never done anything to hurt ourselves. So while on video, some people think we're going to impale ourselves and, blood's going to come gushing and our hands are going to cut off. It is humorous, again, to read those. We do really watch the way that we cut it. We keep our elbow tucked in. Some of the tools actually look a lot scarier than what they are.
And the other one is, I can't believe you show a repair that you don't offer the service. Jerk. Yeah, I'm not trying to be a jerk. It's just some of the services we show because it can be done. We offer that case-by-case basis, and a lot of those type of things, the more serious surgery, it's going to be people who can actually come in and I can have a face-to-face conversation with the customer so that we're all on the same page and knowing what the end result is going to be like and things that we may come across along the road. So it's hard to do that
through a mail insert. It's really hard.
Service.
I mean, like you said, it's easy to be able to show you guys in person and show a customer, hey, this may or may not work. Are you okay with that? I can't do that when you mail your shoes in and tell you over the phone. So a lot of things to make it easy on us and on yourselves, and we want you all to be satisfied. There's just some things that we say, hey, if you're mailing your shoes in, it's just not worth our time.
And so that's one of those things that you want to just ask your local cobbler, if you have a trusting relationship with that cobbler, say, is this something you can do, and talk it out, and come up, think outside the box. And a lot of times, if they're competent, then they'll do it for you, but I just don't want to do it through mail-in.
So anyways, so I hope that was enjoyable for each of you. It was actually fun for us too.
Yeah.
Like I said, I apologize. We said we were going to do this when we turned 30,000. We hit over 40 the other day. So again, a huge thank you to all of y'all for subscribing to our channel and supporting us and watching these videos. I love hearing from each of you. So please keep it coming. Send us comments and asking us questions, and we'll continue to do more of these.
Yeah.
But anyways, until then, again, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, we have a lot more of these videos and tutorials and shoe brand coming. So subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell button so that you're notified every time one of these videos is launched. Give us a thumbs up because that helps our channel to grow. And until next time, have a great day.